The Monkey Paw, Episode 6, Circuit of Sorrow. The city bus rattled through the rain-slick streets of Brisketown, its headlights casting fleeting shadows against the cracked and weary pavement. Olavius sat slumped in the back, his trench coat hanging on his shoulders like a shroud. The smell of cheese lingered in his nostrils, but the taste of betrayal was stronger. Without Hucklebuck, without the cockroaches, without even a takeout box of Mark Pye's orange chicken, he was, for the first time in 9 years, completely and utterly alone. The neon signs of Brisketown streets flickered like dying stars as the bus meandered through the city. Olavius stared out the window, his reflection distorted by streaks of rain. Each bounce of the bus jostled his memories loose. He thought of Hucklebuck, his mentor, his partner, his anchor in a storm of absurdity. 9 years of cases, of arguments, of unspoken words. Hucklebuck, the immovable monolith of justice, always one step ahead of him, always ready with a gruff word of encouragement. And now he was gone, tossed into the back of a van like cargo. Olavius's hand brushed his pocket instinctively, searching for his cockroach companion. Empty. The roaches, his allies, his confidants, they had turned on him. But why? He clenched his fist, the ache in his chest deepening. "I let them down," he muttered to himself, his voice barely audible over the hum of the engine. I let him down. The bus turned a corner, revealing the skeletal remains of HQ. The jail's mangled bars glinted in the faint streetlights, and the chaotic din of officers shouting orders filled the air. The sight was a gut punch, but Olavius didn't get off the bus immediately. He stayed seated as the doors hissed open, staring at the scene like a ghost haunting his own life. Finally, as the driver tapped his brake impatiently, he rose, the weight of his trench coat dragging him to the ground like lead. Inside HQ, the smell of smoke and soda lingered in the air, a mocking reminder of Mad Mike's jailbreak. Officers scrambled to clear the debris, their faces set in grim determination. Olavius wove through them silently, his presence unacknowledged. He wasn't sure if they didn't notice him, or if they simply didn't care. Hucklebuck's office was untouched, a time capsule of order in the midst of chaos. Olavius hesitated at the threshold before stepping inside. The room smelled faintly of cologne and baby oil, a bizarre yet comforting combination that was quintessentially Hucklebuck. The desk, always immaculate, was stacked with files. His gaze fell on a photo perched on the corner, a family portrait of Hucklebuck, his radiant wife, and 6 laughing children. A sob escaped Olavius's throat before he could stop it. He sat in Hucklebuck's chair, his face buried in his hands. The grief was overwhelming. The unspoken love, the loyalty, the guilt. He had failed Hucklebuck, not just as a partner, but as a friend. And now, staring at the photo of the life Hucklebuck had beyond their partnership, Olavius felt like an intruder in his own mourning. The silence of the office was broken by the faint, familiar sound of skittering. Olavius froze, his hand instinctively reaching for his gun. From the shadows, a single cockroach emerged. It was smaller than most, its antennae trembling as it approached cautiously. "Not you," Olavius growled, his voice thick with betrayal. He raised the gun, his finger hovering over the trigger. But the cockroach didn't scatter. Instead, it tapped softly against the floor, the pattern familiar yet hesitant. Olavius lowered the weapon, confusion furrowing his brow. "You're still with me?" The roach clicked affirmatively. It scurried onto the desk, tapping insistently. Olavius followed its movements as it guided him to the bottom drawer. He hesitated before pulling it open. Inside was an enormous bottle of baby oil, so absurdly large that he almost smiled despite himself. Beneath it was a thin, dust-covered file marked with 2 stark words: Project X. Project X. Olavius flipped through the file, the fluorescent light above him buzzing ominously. Blueprints, budget reports, and photos of a sleek humanoid machine. "Artificial intelligence," he murmured, reading further. Project X had been an experimental program to create a sentient police android, a blend of technology and humanity, designed to be incorruptible. The perfect officer. But something had gone wrong. The mayor of Brisketown had abruptly shut the program down, citing vague ethical concerns. The file ended with a single note, handwritten in the margins: "Vault, basement." The cockroach tapped his hand, urging him to move. "You really think this is the answer?" Olavius whispered. The roach didn't respond, but its presence felt oddly reassuring. For the first time that night, Alavis felt a flicker of purpose. The vault. The basement of HQ was colder than he remembered, the air damp and metallic. Alavis moved cautiously, his flashlight slicing through the darkness. At the far end of the corridor, a rusted door loomed, its surface marked with peeling paint that spelled out Project X. He hesitated before forcing the door open. The hinges groaned like a wounded animal, revealing a room bathed in the eerie green glow of dormant machinery. In the center sat the android, slumped in a chair like a forgotten relic. Its hair and beard had grown wild in its years of inactivity, giving it an almost tragic appearance. Human, yet not. Alavis stepped closer, the sound of his boots echoing in the stillness. The android's face was eerily lifelike, its closed eyes framed by long lashes. The craftsmanship was impeccable, and yet unsettling. He reached out, his hand trembling as he brushed against the machine's cold cheek. "Is this what it's come to?" he murmured. "A machine to replace the people I've lost?" The cockroach clicked behind him, urging him on. Alavis turned to the console beside the android. His fingers hovered over the activation switch. He had no idea what would happen, whether this machine would be a savior or a new kind of nightmare. But at this moment, with his partner gone, his allies turned, and his city in chaos, it felt like his only option. He took a deep breath, his hand inching toward the switch. To be continued.